Am I the jerk for refusing to let my mother-in-law see my son after she keeps trying to interfere in my marriage? I am currently pregnant with my second child, and I have a 2-year-old son with my husband. My relationship with my mother-in-law has been rocky from the start, but things have gotten worse since my son was born. My mother-in-law never really liked me. She made it clear she thought her son could do better, even though my husband and I have been together for 4 years and are happy. From the beginning, she's always tried to make everything about her and my husband. She is constantly inviting him to dinners and events without including me. She calls him multiple times a day and makes comments like, "No one will ever love you as much as I do." At first, I tried to be understanding. I know she is a single mother and my husband is her only child, but it is getting out of hand. Whenever she visits, she tries to undermine me in front of my son. She will say things like, "Mommy doesn't know what she's doing," or try to take over when I am parenting. Once, she even told my son that grandma is the only one who really cares about you. When I told my husband about it, he was supportive, but didn't want to confront her directly, thinking it would just make things worse. I felt like I was going crazy because every time I brought it up, my mother-in-law would deny everything or say I was being too sensitive. Recently though, it hit a breaking point. We were at a family gathering, and my mother-in-law made a comment in front of everyone that she should just move in with us so she could help raise the kids, because I clearly need it. I was mortified and furious. My husband stood up for me, but she started crying and said I was trying to take her son away from her. After that, I decided I've had enough. I told my husband that my mother-in-law isn't allowed to come over or see our son until she learns to respect me as his mother and his wife. My husband is on my side, but now my mother-in-law is telling everyone I'm keeping her away from her grandchild out of spite. And some of my husband's extended family have reached out to say I'm being unfair. Am I the antagonist for setting this boundary with my mother-in-law, or am I overreacting? This is wild behavior from the mother-in-law, and her son needs to start the conversation about boundaries and stand his ground. If she can respect boundaries, she can come back around, but until then, do not let her back in the house. Inform any nosy family that the mother-in-law is keeping herself away from her grandson with her venom and disrespect. Make sure your husband backs you up 100% on this. Am I the jerk for refusing to initiate a second bridal shower for Fsil? My future sister-in-law is marrying my eldest brother this fall. We have had no issues with each other throughout their relationship and have become friends. Her family is from out of state and is throwing her a bridal shower. Her sibling reached out to me, asking if I could initiate a bridal shower for her here in our home state. I was confused, as it is traditionally the mother's responsibility to do that, and typically people only have one shower. I reached out to the older female members of the family, and everyone was confused about why another shower was necessary, especially since the entirety of my family is attending the destination wedding she has planned in her home state across the country. Since then, my brother has yelled at my mother to organize the shower, and she agreed. Being in the middle of this situation has caused me to feel some unkind feelings towards my future sister-in-law. I have distanced myself because of this, and she has lashed out at me, saying that she is hurt I did not organize the shower for her, and that I am not helping her with the wedding at all. I tried to explain that it is a lot to ask people to throw her another shower when they are already spending a lot of money to travel to her wedding. It seems like she is too caught up in the wedding planning and has lost some realization of how much things cost. Not to mention, they live in the same house as my parents. She said that I have made her feel guilty about the party she has now forced us into organizing and continues to behave oddly towards me. For example, I am a bridesmaid and she decided on a color scheme. Her directive was to pick any dress we liked as long as it adhered to that color scheme. Since then, the dresses I sent her always receive some commentary about being low-cut or backless, which worries her. These gowns are tasteful and do not show too much skin, considering that she knows me and my personal style and has previously complimented me on my taste. I am feeling irritated, as no other bridesmaid has gone through this with her, and I am thinking she is acting this way because of the party difficulties. Sounds like her family is throwing her a big shower out of state, which makes sense given the circumstances. However, asking for another shower from people who are already spending a lot to attend the wedding seems a bit much. At the end of the day, she's getting the shower she wants, so continuing to throw a tantrum about it makes her a jerk. Your actions were justified. Am I the jerk for telling my partner that they can't go climbing and have to help with home renovation first? I plan to show my husband the responses, so please be as honest as possible. My 36-year-old female self and my husband, who is 38 years old, decided to renovate the bathroom because there was water damage from a leaking toilet. It was mostly my idea to renovate, but not just for aesthetics. Mold was growing at the bottom of the vanity and sheetrock. He agreed to renovate but had very little interest in the process. He has untreated ADHD and does not enjoy home maintenance. He tells me this. With that being said, it became my job to apply for loans, search for contractors, and schedule the contractors. It was a lot of mental work, and I did it alone. He agreed to save money and offered to demolish the bathroom himself. I was hesitant at first because he is not usually motivated to do things in the house. Also, due to the ADHD, his timeline and processing speed are very slow, and often things do not get done. He promised me many times he wanted to do it. I sent screenshots of the calendar and told him the days he would start. The The whole week leading up to the demolition day, I mentally prepared him. We have been together for 21 years. I know how he is. He will say he forgot, or it will seem like brand new information to him, so every day he gets a reminder. Fast forward to last night. The night before demolition is to start, he sends me a message asking if he can go climbing with his friends. I said I would prefer if he would just demolish like we agreed. He only has 2 days off, so I said no. Sorry, you cannot go. It turned into almost an hour argument back and forth about how the weather will not be good the rest of the days, and he can just do it then. But I know him. He waits until the last minute and something may go wrong. We may need to call for extra help or something. I always have a sense of urgency, and he has none, and it makes my life very difficult. To add, he has a job where he can often do his hobbies. He climbs with his work friends and goes hiking and skiing. When he has days off, he goes for bike rides for hours. He is not deprived of leisure time, but I am. I have been home all summer. I am a teacher, being responsible for my children 90% of the time. I have been up with them in the morning, taking them out for activities all day and putting them to sleep. On top of that, I have cleaned up after the children and his messes every single day. I have not had a day of fun the entire summer. So I feel anger and resentment constantly. Our fight ended with him telling me it makes no sense to tell him he has to start on this day. He will just do it the next day. I am the one being unreasonable, and everyone else will agree with him and not me. Also, to add, today is Thursday. Our tile guy comes in on Monday, and the entire bathroom needs to be completely gutted by the morning. You haven't done anything wrong. Dude, you're a grown man with children. ADHD is not an excuse to shirk responsibilities. Step up and start being a partner, husband, and father. Responsibility comes first. There will be other times to play, but right now, the bathroom renovation is on a deadline. Am I the jerk for refusing to drive my sibling to school? My brother, who is 21 years old, has a driver's license but is scared to drive, so he usually has to bike or take public transportation. It normally takes him about 1.5 hours to get to work. Now they are renovating the train tracks, which is why he has to take a bus that takes longer to get him to his destination. He goes to work from Monday to Thursday, but on Friday he has to go to school. To get to that school, he now has to switch buses multiple times, and I understand that this is very annoying. I work from home most Fridays, so I am a little bit more flexible with my time. This is the situation. My mom drove him to school the last 2 weeks because she was home, but now she is back to work and told me to drive him. Normally, that would not be a problem, but my brother has been acting like a complete jerk to me for the last couple of weeks, so I am not interested in driving him. Whenever I ask him to do something for me, he never does it. A couple of days ago, he went downstairs to get himself a bottle of water, and I asked if he could bring me one too. His only response was that I should get my own. My job at home is to do all our laundry, so I folded everything into baskets, one for my parents, one for him, and one for me. In the last couple of weeks, I have always asked him to take my parents' basket upstairs because I recently had surgery on my knee and struggle with carrying things upstairs. He has never done it, so usually, I end up doing it. 2 days ago, I went grocery shopping. When I came inside with the bags, he had placed his slippers directly behind the door, which I did not see. I tripped over them with the grocery bags and ended up falling. When I told him in the evening, he said that he likes that spot for his shoes and that I should have looked better. They were in the middle of the way, and you had to step over them to go somewhere. Needless to say, I am pretty upset about his behavior and do not feel like driving him when he continues to treat me that way. Now my mom is expecting me to drive him because she told him I would without even asking me first. Am I wrong for refusing to drive him? I hope this makes sense. English is not my first language. Your actions don't make you a jerk. Doing favors should be a two-way street. You can't expect people to want to help you if you're constantly doing the opposite to them. Getting strong-armed into driving a grown man with his own driver's license around is just ridiculous. Am I the jerk for honking at a bus picking up kids? The week of Labor Day, I was driving into work around 8 a.m. Around this time is when school buses have been going out picking up students to go to school. While driving on one of the main roads, I was behind a school bus. Whenever the school bus stops, I make sure to provide about 3 car lengths distance, just in case of the school bus needing to reverse for whatever reason. When the bus stopped, I saw it picking up elementary-age children. With them were 2 adults. When the children walked to the bus, the adults followed. I understood because as a father, I could see wanting to make sure the children got on safely. After the children were on the bus, the adults stayed by the bus and started talking to the driver. Maybe they wanted to make them aware of something or ask a question. It did not seem like a big deal. However, 10 minutes later, the adults were still talking with the bus driver. I do not know what the conversation was, but 10 minutes had passed from when the bus stopped to pick up the children. This was only a 2-lane road, so the bus was stopping traffic going both ways. The number of cars that were backed up went farther than I could see. When we finally moved, the cars went back almost half a mile or more. At this point, I thought it was ridiculous the amount of time it took for this conversation, especially when you have traffic stopped going both ways. So I honked my horn to signal that there were a lot of cars waiting to go but could not because the bus had the stop sign on. Keep in mind, I could see through the back bus door and all the children were in and sitting within seconds of getting on the bus. Then other cars started to honk as well. One lady then backed up to look in my direction and gave the hand up signal to say, "Hold on, I heard you," but still continued to converse. I did honk again because at this point in my mind, this was a conversation to have when you were not blocking a road. The bus then left, and we could all resume going. However, the lady decided that she would walk in my direction, getting upset that I had the audacity to honk at them. What transpired was just a roll-by of yelling, and each person giving the finger to one another. I am not proud of the example I was, but the amount of frustration for people who think they are entitled to hold up everyone else for their own personal reason just irked me the wrong way. I have to ask, am I the asshole for honking at the bus? You haven't done anything wrong. If the bus was truly stopped for 10 minutes, that's an excessive amount of time to block traffic in both directions. A couple of polite honks to get things moving seems completely reasonable. Any serious conversation between a parent and a bus driver should be handled through the school or transportation office. The bus driver is also at fault for allowing such a delay to happen. Am I the jerk for refusing to attend a neighborhood party at my house? I am a 17-year-old male who still lives with my father. He and his wife moved to a new neighborhood recently and decided they want to throw a party to get to know the neighbors. I do not want to attend because I know questions will come up about my family. The last time I was put in that position a couple of years ago, I was so angry about being forced to attend a party with them that I brought up the fact my father's wife hated my mother for years, longer than my parents knew each other, and longer than she knew my father. I also mentioned how my father and his wife had an affair while my mother was dying from breast cancer. I was 9 years old when my mother died, and I found out about my father and his wife because he brought her into the house when my mother was near the end of her life. They were grossly together. My mother would never have given her blessing for that. She hated that woman just as much as that woman hated her. I have never forgiven my father or looked at him in a positive light since. When my mother died, I tried so hard to get put in foster care rather than live with them, but it did not work. We ended up moving away a few weeks after my mother died because of the judgment they faced back home. She tried to play the role of supermom to me, trying to be so involved in my life, but I never accepted her or gave her a chance. They talked about adoption but quickly scrapped that idea because they were told I would be spoken to since I was 10 before they got married. They have 2 children together now, and that did not soften me to them. I do not blame the children. But am I close to them? No, I'll tell you well. I make it a point to keep my distance because I will not stick around. I do not want a relationship with them or to keep my father and his wife in my life as an adult, even if only occasionally for my half-siblings. A relationship with my half-siblings is not important enough to have any contact with those two. After the incident of me telling people about the affair, I was grounded for so long. We had all kinds of therapy, and I stuck to my word about hating them and finding them both disgusting. But my life was also miserable because I was grounded and had everything taken from me for weeks. I was offered a shorter sentence if I told her I loved her, but I was not going to lie and could not say the words. So it was almost 9 weeks of misery. They ended up being judged by some more people. So this time, I am refusing to attend, and my father is furious. He told me questions will be asked. I said if I am there, questions will get answered, and I will not hold back on how I feel about them or what they did. He told me to let it go after 8 years, and I told him that will never happen. I told him I do not want to pretend we are a family when the truth is, I am ashamed to be his son. He told me he still cannot let those questions about why I am not there get answered, and that I will upset my half-siblings by making this another fight. I told him I will work and he can say that, but he was still saying it was not good enough. Am I the asshole? You did nothing improper. You're not an asshole for refusing to attend, given your history and feelings. It's clear that the situation with your dad and his wife has deeply affected you, and it's understandable that you wouldn't want to relive that trauma or pretend everything is okay. Your refusal is based on a long-standing emotional response to a painful past, and it's okay to set boundaries around what you're comfortable with. This seems like the best choice for your mental health. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.